Right, welcome to the Boxing Social preview show. This is probably going to be a little weekly special about all things boxing. Today we're fortunate enough to have the facilities of the York Hall. We're in the ring where the action is going to take place tomorrow night with Frazer Clarke and Mariusz Wach. But we're going to talk about the history of our sport and of course the York Hall.
Listen, this is a historic venue here in the York Hall. We both boxed here, amateur and pro. Did you box here as an amateur?
No, it's too bad.
Was it built then? Was it built then?
I wasn't never boxed that. I wasn't good enough for that, man. Don't put me in that bracket.
Yeah, no, but it's like, you know, even as an amateur when I boxed here, I won a couple of junior ABA titles here. The atmosphere then was insane. It was brilliant. You know, all the amateur shows that are here are great. When you come as a pro show here, though, there's something special about this place. Like, if you look through the history of this place, Johnny, when you look like the likes of Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Nigel Benn, Lennox Lewis, even Johnny Tapia, when we were working here, we talked about the box here. Like, the history of this place is something special. There's always special nights, and you know, tomorrow night is going to be a special night as well.
I think what makes this place special is the fact that it's so tight. It's like a cauldron. It's like a coliseum. So if you're the away fighter, and you can easily be intimidated by fighting in your opponent's backyard, this is it. You know, so if there's any chinks in your armour, it comes out in here. I remember boxing here against, oh God, I can't remember, local lad, Lou Gent. Now Lou Gent, he had some serious support when I came down here, and that was a British title defence. Lou Gent came out and he was proper bouncing in this place when I boxed Lou Gent. Before then, or was it around that time, it was actually after then, I'd boxed Henry Ekiwandi here. Then after that, I'd boxed for the WBU heavyweight title here. You know what I mean? So when you come down, I'm a Yorkshire boy, so to come down to East London to fight in an East London venue that I've got really good support, it takes a lot. But that's why I think when we look at the history of the champions that have come out of our country, this is the perfect step for any fighter to take. So that's why I think when we saw Frazer, he walked with a bit of authority, a bit of responsibility. But that's what this place brings out in fighters.
Listen, I got Frazer in the ring, you know, just 5 or 10 minutes ago. We got in here and we was talking about the history of this place. Like you say, you know, the atmosphere, how it bounces, comes off the ceiling and everything else. And he said, look, I've boxed here. I've won here and I've lost here. I've boxed at a good level here, you know, against some good opponents. And he said, like, you know, this is something I've been really looking forward to headline a bill, my first bill to headline and let it be at your call. He said, it's something really special for me. He said, look, I'm a kid from Burton-on-Trent, just a little kid from Burton-on-Trent. All of a sudden now I'm topping a bill in like the names that we've already mentioned. My name goes up there with those type of names. He goes, that gives me that's inspirational for me alone, just that thing.
And you look behind the scenes, when you go into that dressing room, the dressing room, it's tight. And when you're on the undercard, you can actually be sharing the dressing room with your opponent.
Yeah.
Or it's literally a doorway between you and your opponent, so you can hear what's being said, hear what's being done. You can, if one fighter wants to try and intimidate another, that's what it happens. When you used to have the prize fighter tournaments here, this is that place because you're so tight. So it's about, even earlier on, you had 2 fighters there. They were like fighting cockerels, wanting to get involved. This is what the York Hall brings out in you, and that's why I think on this level here, for Boxing Association with Sky to bring this here, I think. Again, it just brings it back to the roots, brings it down to grassroots, and it's a great opportunity to top a bill here. In fact, you know what? Have I ever done it? I'm not sure if I actually topped the bill when I boxed, but I must have done it at some point. But as an amateur, when you talk amateurs, I'd have got slaughtered down here. You're mad. I didn't have that confidence.
Oh, no, it was mad. I boxed here actually once as a pro as well in my 6th fight against a guy called Ricky Beard, and the atmosphere was insane. I was the local kid. Do you remember Ricky Beard? I was the local kid and I'd come in, and there was something magical, something special about it. Speaking to Frazer, he said to me, Spence, I feel that way as well. You know, I'm familiar with this place. I'm looking forward to it. Mariusz Wach is the guy that's actually coming into the Lion's Den, because that's what it is. It's a Lion's Den. It's going to be hot in here tomorrow. You know, Frazer Clarke, Mariusz Wach, top of the bill, 10 rounds. A big opportunity for Frazer. And I said, Frazer, I feel like this is your coming of age fight. Although it's only your 7th contest, you've been around a long time. You've done that WSB boxing series. You know, you've boxed like that. So really, like, you turning pro, your development's going to be quick. You know, you got mandated for that British title fight against Fabio Wardley. You've taken this step instead. But Mariusz Wach's a serious guy. Forget he's 43 and he's had like, you know, 150 fights, which he's had like sort of, I don't know what it is, in his 40s fights. You know, he's only lost 9 of them, but he's a tough guy.
You know what? I think after the break, I think we break that down, really get into it nitty-gritty and really talk about that fight and how much is at stake for Frazer and Wach. Straight after the break.
Well, welcome back, and now, Johnny, we're going to break down the big fight tomorrow night, Frazer Clarke versus Mariusz Wach. How do you see this one panning out? How does this one go? Like Frazer says, I know what I've got to do. I've got to chip away. I've got to slowly chip away. I said to Frazer, if you're looking to make a statement, you stop the guy.
Yeah.
If you don't stop him, it's still a good win. But to make a statement, you have to stop him. Do you see it that way?
I do, and the thing is, I like the seriousness about Frazer. I've been to Loughborough a few times watching Frazer prepare for this. His body shape's changed, his back, his muscle now, his cards are like tree trunks. The way he was working on fine precision tuning, I think Adrian Fernandez is really coming into himself as a coach, because they were working on the minor details. And so now Frazer, even earlier on, I said, Frazer, you're going to take part. His assistant said, no, we're not doing that, because this is how serious they've taken it.
Yeah.
And he knows there's a lot on the line, because he knows if he gets it wrong, his professional reputation is going to be tarnished because of what he did represent our country in the amateurs, and everywhere he travelled all over the world, and he's boxed a lot of these big names we already know, but people don't know. Now it's time to stand up to the plate. Now he's taking responsibility of his professional career. So therefore, when he gets out there, the Fabio Wardley situation, the things that were said about that, it hurt his soul.
Yes.
It kind of hurt his professionalism, because he's thinking, no, I'm not that fighter. Sometimes you've got to lose a battle to win a war. And I kind of understand you. They're trying to say, you know what, you need a few more experiences at big rounds. That's why this is the 10-rounder.
Yeah.
I actually think, on paper, this is the better fight.
Absolutely, I agree.
It's a better pedigree of fight for Clarke than the Wardley fight.
Listen, you know, I know that the idea for Frazer Clarke was that they wanted to get him the rounds. It wasn't about
a harder fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what it was with Frazer, they said that's why they chose Mariusz Wach, because they want the 10 rounds. Yeah. Because they'll go, right, now he's had that 10-round thing. It's a Johnny, you know what it's like. It's a psychological thing. Frazer's only ever been 6 rounds so far. Going into that Fabio Wardley fight, he's got the more experience. He's been past 6 rounds before, and they're going, look, there's a big investment in Frazer Clarke, and they go, we want to get it right. We're not being told what to do, when to do it. We'll take it at our own time. Mariusz Wach, for me, will give him the rounds. I think he wins this fight on points.
It did hurt Frazer.
I think he wins on points.
It did hurt Frazer what was said in regards to that fight falling through, and sometimes it burnt him. And so he had to keep his mouth shut. And he said in the gym, he said, you know what, I'm upset, I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
You know, but this is part of the game. So now with this fight against Wach, I've seen Wach, and he's strong. He can be intimidating, and he's thinking, I've got this young and experienced guy coming in against me. I know far too many tricks in our fight game to be able to navigate around this guy. You look at the size difference. Now it's going to be about pace. It's going to be about brains. Now when they get in, Wach's going to come in. He's going to try and physically intimidate Frazer by, in this small ring as a heavyweight. It's small, man.
That is a small ring.
It suits Wach down to the ground.
Yeah.
Frazer's got to work, but so is he. But he doesn't have to. He can stand there in front of him, slips well for a big guy. Frazer's got to use that sharp jab, use that precision punching. If he does it right, he can cut him to shreds. And therefore, we're talking probably 7 to 9 rounds. That fight goes like that. Wouldn't surprise me if he went the distance. But to me, I think it's a good learning fight for Frazer.
Yeah, so for me, it's like Mariusz Wach is a guy that's been there, seen it, done it, got the T-shirt, boxed at every sort of level. You're right in what you say, John. He's not going to be intimidated coming into the Lion's Den, because it will be a hostile atmosphere in here. But he's a guy that's been, like, you know, that's water off a duck's back for him. We saw him out in Saudi against Dillian Whyte, and he grows in confidence. If you give him a little bit and he starts working the jab, he likes to he boxes in pockets. He likes to box at his own pace. You know, he'll throw the jab. He's a hustler.
At 43 years old, exactly, he's a good hustler in the ring.
And he's still a good hustler, right? So that's what I said to Frazer. I said, you've got to keep your eye on the ball here, mate. Don't let him take away the play. Don't let him start getting off with his shots first, because if he does that, he'll grow into it, and you're going to have a tough night. I said, so make sure that you're dominant. You go out there, you know, calculate calculated, educated pressure. You know, take your time, don't make any fundamental mistakes, and just slowly chip away and break him down. That's the way I see him winning the fight.
You look at Wach, he's got fast, loose hands. Very fast, loose hands for a guy at 20-odd stone. So therefore, when you stood in front of him, he'll pick you with a jab. It might not be the most powerful jab, but it's annoying enough and strong enough and had the weight behind enough to keep you on the back foot.
Sure.
So Frazer needs to, and as I said, even though you're older, the pace that might not be there. But if you give an older man hope to think this is working, he will run away with the fight. So Frazer, this is. Again, he understands a lot at stake here. He can't afford to lose to a 43-year-old man.
Is that how you see Mariusz winning the fight, by the way? Like, if he's allowed to grow into it, and if he's allowed to take control of the pace, because that's what it is with Mariusz. If he's controlling the pace, he's a hard man to beat.
That's right, and he'll stand in front of you, and he's got a good upper body movement. He'll slip, lean back, and try and put, and that's to break your heart when you're throwing a shot and you miss. And the guy's still there for a big unit. You think so? Frazer's got to aim for that body, drop it up on the top, because like when we were looking at him on tape, he leans, he gets comfortable leaning to the left-hand side. So Frazer needs to work on doing a jab and then dropping the shot in, turning the hook in. That's how he needs to work. And there are, and he's got to hurt him. And if he hurts him, then what he's going to do? He's going to try and hold. Going to try and drop his weight on Frazer. He's going to try and
use his experience,
bullshit his way around the fight. Frazer needs to try and keep it as clean as possible, make the older man work more than what he should do. And if he does that, then it's a good night's work for him and a good learning fight.
Right, well, listen, give us your prediction, break it down, who wins and how? My
prediction is Frazer Clarke wins. It wouldn't surprise me if he won on points. And I give him 6 out of the 10 rounds.
Well, my prediction is Frazer Clarke wins, and I think he wins on points. I think Mariusz Wach causes a few problems in there, makes it difficult for him. Good learning fight for Frazer Clarke, but I see Frazer Clarke on points. Join us after the break.
Welcome back. Now we're going to talk a little further down on the card, the cruiserweights. My favourite section, and it's Viddal Riley against Anees Taj. This is a rematch. This fight, Taj, when he got up, he said, "You know what? I learned from the last fight. You got me once, but you won't get me a second time." And even when he walked around here afterwards, I was hoping to get my fighter Sheldon McDonald in with Taj. It's not about the dough for Taj because he's always wanted this rematch. And you'd think to himself, you know, if you're beaten by Viddal Riley, who's a good fighter, you think, right, I've had that, I'm done. Taj thinks, I can do him. I want to go in there again. I don't care whatever fight you offer me, I can do him. And he came up and apologized and said, yo, I'm sorry about that, but I want this rematch.
Yeah, listen,
which is a good feeling.
Taj is oozing confidence, let me tell you, right? I've seen him, he's had a great training camp. I've seen him out the front there and he said, listen, mate, I want to right the wrongs. You know, we go back to February when this fight was made. Viddal Riley was a huge favourite going into that fight, and Anees Taj come out. Viddal Riley had a good first couple of rounds. All of a sudden, Anees Taj starts growing into it. He's unorthodox, he throws shots from unorthodox angles, and he's drawing Viddal Riley into a dogfight. He's making it his kind of fight. He's working, he's letting the shots go, and all of a sudden he looks like he's getting into the fight and then sustains a cut. And we get into the 4th round, and the referee, he feels it was stopped controversially, it was stopped too soon, and he says that's why he wants to right the wrongs. He wants to be given the opportunity again, because the cut stops the fight and it stops it quite prematurely. And he felt that he was just getting into the fight and just taking over. Now, I spoke to Viddal Riley about this, and Viddal said, I was actually surprised. And he stung me once, he stung me twice in the 2nd round, and I was surprised actually how awkward now and unorthodox he was. He said, Spence, what I know now, which I didn't know then, was that he was awkward, and he goes, I could figure that out. He said, I'm a fighter that can adapt. I mean, how do you see that one?
You see, he's got to adapt on the job as well, because no matter what training he's done in the gym, in preparation for Taj's style is very herky-jerky. You're not going to get any fighter that fights like him. So now he knows what to expect, but it's been hard to prepare what to expect. For Taj thinks, you can't hurt me. You can cut me, but you can't hurt me. So Taj is now coming in with a new family. If you know this young man on a more personal level, his pride is very much about it. It's not about the dough. He doesn't need the dough. So if he feels as though he's going to go in there heart and soul, he's not a cheat. You know, some fighters, when they go in there, they try and bullshit their way through a fight. He really believes he can pull this off. And so he's going to come in and think, right, I know I can hurt him, I know I can sting him, I know my style is too unpredictable for him to deal with. For Riley, Riley's got to dominate him from the off, because as the rounds roll on, as Taj gets more confident, he throws more shots. As he throws more shots, his style gets more jerky, hard to understand, hard to figure out. And so that makes it harder. I think this will be a harder fight for both fighters because familiarity breeds content. So I think Viddal Riley has now got to come into his own. He's got to show his boxing skill. He's got to show that smart. And it might go the distance. It might be a points job. For Taj, he's always value for money.
Sure.
I love everything about this young man, and you know what? Again, I want to put Sheldon McDonald with him because I think it's a good opponent for Sheldon to learn from. And actually, you know, if you can box him and you've got your wits about you and you're fit, you can beat him.
Sure.
If Viddal Riley's got that about him, he should beat him.
But that's why he says he's taking this again. He said, because I don't want any controversy surrounding this, so I'll go in there again, Spence, and he said, I'll do a job, but I'll do a better job on him. Right, Viddal Riley's an unbeaten fighter, 8 wins, 5 KOs. You know, he's one of those guys that, you know, look at the Cruiserweight Division right now. Chris Billam Smith with that excellent win over Lawrence Okolie just recently. Look how Richard Riakpor's coming on. You know, there's Isaac Chamberlain there who put in a great performance against Chris Billam Smith last July, actually. You know, so he's knocking on the door again. Chamberlain, who we're going to talk about, who's boxing on this show as well, who wants to make a statement. He wants to make press. So we've got these cruiserweights that want to make statements. Viddal Riley, that's why he's taking this fight. He goes, because I need to make a statement. Because he sees himself not that far away from them sort of guys. Do you see that he's not far that far away?
I'll totally agree. I think the skill this guy's got is ridiculous, but it's about the timing. We're all trying to push, saying, come on, we can't wait for this. His dad and himself, you know, they're doing it at their pace, not going to be rushed into it. You mentioned Chris Billam Smith. Let's just go back a bit. Chris Billam Smith, he boxed at Lawrence Okolie. I don't think Lawrence Okolie got beat. I think he lost. Yeah. There's a difference. Yeah. Chris Billam Smith, you know.
It's Riakpor.
No. Chris Billam Smith when he boxed Lawrence Okolie.
Yeah.
And I think Lawrence Okolie, he didn't get beat against Chris Billam Smith.
Right, I've got you. I understand.
And so now, if the rematch happens between those two, I expect the decision to be turned.
Really?
I personally think.
Wow.
If I were the handlers, I'd try and talk Lawrence Okolie into either moving up in weight. Or stepping aside because he'll win. And if he wins, Lawrence Okolie is strong enough and awkward enough to hurt and damage a lot of
But don't you think, like Billam Smith, you know what it's like, Johnny, when you win that title, it elevates you to another level.
It does.
And do you feel that might be giving him the confidence he's needed? He's done it the hard way, man. British, Commonwealth, European, now won the world title in Bournemouth at the stadium. Unbelievable fight, unbelievable victory. But, you know, I mean, look, we're talking about the cruiserweights here. We've run away with it because we've run away from Viddal Riley versus Anees Taj. But what
this is the division
I think that's what we're talking about, the division and what it is for the winner if he wins, especially Viddal Riley, because he's the kid that everyone's talking about. I think if he wins, he's starting to knock on the door for these guys.
And that's why, so these are good little tests for him to deal with this domestic situation. He shouldn't be struggling here. At no point in Viddal Riley's career have we seen him struggle against opposition. He's shone and learned. And again, if Taj has anything about him and if Viddal has anything about him, he'll deal with him again. But what I'm saying is that division that's there is very competitive. On the undercard, there's Isaac Chamberlain. He's boxing Brejon,
Dillian Brejon.
Yeah, who lost on points to Chris Billam Smith.
So and Tachi as well.
So it's a good yardstick to see where Isaac Chamberlain is, because he's had a crack at the whip. He's thinking, I don't want to do it again. Now he's thinking, you know what? I can box for British title. It should have happened against Lawal. If Lawal doesn't turn up here Friday night, to give Isaac Chamberlain some shit, everything Isaac Chamberlain said about Lawal, you know, you've got to give it credit. Now, if I was a fighter, and the fight fell through, and Isaac Chamberlain said you came up with all these excuses left, right, and centre, and you're in turf. He's on his own turf. There's no reason why he can't be here. He should come down and make sure he's his fault. He's a British champion. So if he believes he's the best in Britain, come and piss on your tree.
What is it? What has Chamberlain got to do? What has Chamberlain, sorry, lost my train of thought there. What has Chamberlain got to do here tomorrow night? Because it's like, look, he's boxing on the undercard, and he's further down the line than Anees Taj, and we'll break that down, who wins that fight and how in a minute with Viddal Riley. But we're moving on to Chamberlain now, Isaac Chamberlain. What has he got to do here? Has he got to make a statement here against Bijan, who's a tough guy? He's a tough guy, but this cruiserweights at the moment is about... It's about who's going to stand out, isn't it?
Okay, so let's do the math. So Isaac lost to Chris Billam-Smith. Bijan lost to Chris Billam-Smith. So the fashion of this fight, we can then measure if Isaac's learned from the loss from Chris Billam-Smith, if he's developed, if he's right the wrongs and all the mistakes he's done. So when Isaac gets in here, he's got a show sharp boxing brain. He has the ability. The one thing I found when he boxed Chris Billam-Smith was Isaac's been a great sparring partner for the likes of Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if you're happy to come second place in the exchange, it's a hard habit to get out of. And that's what I saw when he
travelled to explain to our viewers. He's like Isaac Chamberlain learnt his trade on the road, didn't he? Like after the loss to Lawrence Okolie in his 9th fight or whenever it was, he went on the road and he went as a sparring partner of all the top heavyweights and cruiserweights in the world.
Before the Lawrence Okolie fight, he was a sparring partner for Wilder.
Yeah.
So to get him with such a big banger, you're used to surviving, you're used to coming second place in the exchange, you're used to protecting yourself. Now, when I saw him box Chris Billam-Smith, I just saw a sparring partner habit where I thought you're too acceptance of becoming second in that exchange, and I didn't like it. So I think now, after that fight, I think he's changed now. I think now he understands, now it's my turn.
He's got the winner's mentality.
He's got a winner's mentality. So now in this fight, he needs to fight with a winner's mentality, because now he's in with a European-leveled fighter. So he's got to prove, you know what, I can beat you.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned now, and that's what I like about Isaac. He's learning all the way through. See, I think that's why I'm looking forward to this.
What I loved with you breaking that down there was like explaining the other side of it. It's not just about the physicalities and the attributes that you've got, like the good jab, the good cross, the right hand. Because we know Chamberlain had all that. He's got all the movement and all that. But it's the psychological side of the game that people don't understand. That bit where you have to bite down on the gum shield. Sometimes you've got to roll the dice and you've got to take that gamble. And that is important. That's the difference between champions and challengers. And what you're saying there of Isaac Chamberlain is he seems to have flipped that. Yeah. He's gone in from that like sparring partner, challenger sort of mentality into that, oh, actually, against Billam-Smith, I proved that I belong here. Yeah. You know, Billam-Smith now... Convinced himself.
And that's what I'm saying. So McKenna Lawal will be here, British champion. That fight should have happened with him and Isaac Chamberlain. Lawal had an issue where the fight fell through. That, we don't know when it's going to happen, but it's supposed to happen next. Right. And that fight there, Lawal needs to be here. And for Isaac Chamberlain to win the British title at last, he needs what Lawal's got. And Lawal needs to stamp his authority, mark his line to say, you know what, I'm the best in Britain officially until I come up against you, Viddal Riley. Sure. Because right now, you're looking at Isaac, you're looking at Viddal Riley and thinking, you know what, who's above who here? Right. You know, so it's a good mix to be in, and that fight could happen as well.
Right, well, let's break those two fights down then. Who wins and how? Let's start off first. Viddal Riley versus Anees Taj, the rematch. Riley won the first fight in the 4th round, controversially, on a cut. Who wins this one and how?
I think the rematch is a points win for Riley. I think Riley has great boxing IQ. I think he'll box smart, box sharp. He'll pick and pop. He knows he can beat Taj on boxing IQ, so I'd go for him. I think Isaac Chamberlain against Bijan. I think Isaac again wins on points. I think Bijan's tough, he's durable, but Isaac Chamberlain again another points win. But I think the Riley fight will be the exciting fight, the one that grabs our attention.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with you, Johnny, as well. I think that I'm going to go Viddal Riley, and I think he wins, and I think he wins on a wide points decision. I think that he doesn't take any chances. He picks his shots. He looks for those big shots. But as we know, Anees Taj is tough, and he'll keep coming, and he might even pick himself off the floor. But I think he is the final bell. I go for Viddal Riley on points, and then moving on to Isaac Chamberlain against Bijan. I think Chamberlain does him. I think he stops him late. I think he stops him late. I think that I've seen something in Isaac Chamberlain. I've seen a change in him. Like you see that look in his eye. He seems to have got the glint, the eye of the tiger.
Got on the scales at 14.10 today, 6 pound over the championship weight. So he looks strong. He looks solid.
And you hit the nail on the head there. He's gone from being that sparring mentality, that sparring partner mentality and challenger mentality to actually I'm a winner. And I think that's what makes a difference. And I think with what's gone on in the cruiserweights with Lawrence Okolie, Chris Billam-Smith, Richard Riakpo picking up there and everything else, he's gone, I am on this. And I think that we see Chamberlain win inside the distance, possibly late. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go to a break, and then we'll pick up the rest of the undercard.
Now, finally, the last quarter, the last section of this, Caroline Dubois back in action, and Aaron McKenna again back in action. I think these two are good cards.
They are. They are. Do you know what? I'm really excited about Caroline Dubois, seeing her out again. She's going in again now. She's going in for her 7th fight. I think she's 6-0 now with 5 KOs. Is it 6-0 with 5? 6-0 with 5 KOs. I think I'm right there.
She's only boxed once this year as well.
She's 6-0 with 5 KOs. Her last 5 fights have all been by KO, and I believe Caroline Dubois is actually going to take the baton from Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor's the pioneer of women's boxing. I think that the future of women's boxing is Caroline Dubois. I think she's that good. She's going in against Lezcano, who's a tough girl, who's been around Argentinian, only lost a couple of fights. One of them was more recently, and it was a split decision for the IBO world title, and a lot of people felt she was unlucky there. I watched that fight, and she's tough, man. Really tough. Very good fight. This is a huge step up for Caroline Dubois.
Great world rankings.
Calculated gamble, and do you think it'll pay off?
I think it will pay off because I think Caroline Dubois has not shown us a fraction of who she is. I think she's probably walked out of the ring frustrated because when she gets in there, she wants to batter her opponent, and most of them just can't take the heat. Now, in her opponent, she's ranked number 6 with the WBC, WBO, number 2 with the IBF, I think, and number 3 with the WBC. Highly ranked. This is a world-class fight. And she came in here, she's coming here, you know, with the intention of thinking, I'm going to make a difference here. You're not turning me over. I love this fight, and I think even when they're on stage and they were weighing in, there's a switch about Dubois that tells me you got a bit of nasty in you. And I love that. And in the gym, they say she's the one, she's the problem. I think her name when she first started going in the gym, she had this potential as a boy. So her name was Carl. So people kind of respected where she was coming from. Now she doesn't have to hide that. She is potentially going to be one of those fighters where this bedrock of the York Hall, she say, I did that, I boxed there.
Do you know what? I mean, she's a girl, like I say, she's had six fights, and she's a girl now going, you know, I want Michaela Mayer. You know, that's where I see myself. I want to go there. And I was like, wow.
If you hear how they talk about her when she fights, I mean, these top names, they talk about her respectfully. Trust me, even when I've heard Natasha speak about her, they speak about her respectfully to say, you know what, check out this. So if other fighters are looking at you talking like that, there's something about you.
So there's an opportunity for Caroline Dubois to make a real statement, and I think that's what she wants to do here against this tough girl, this Lezcano, who doesn't get stopped. She's tough. She's a winner. She's not an opponent. She's a winner. So this is a calculated gamble for Caroline Dubois. She wants to make a statement. And how good is this, right? When I was speaking to Caroline earlier on as well, and speaking to Frazer Clarke, I interviewed them both. And they were bouncing off each other. They both were in the same Olympics together. They've been through that amateur pedigree together. And they said, Frazer went to me, do you know how special this is? To see how this girl has grown and developed, not just inside the ring, but outside of it. He said before she couldn't really speak, she was very quiet. Now she's grown as a person. And that has come into her character as a fighter.
And what people don't give credit for is to have that kind of pedigree behind you, is you can't buy it. You know, I'm a former world champion. I'm inspired. I'm in awe of these guys, even though they've not achieved anything yet as a professional. I'm in awe because I think you guys, you've done it in the amateurs. Now that pedigree you've got, they're the guys you will avoid like the plague as a professional because they know what they're doing. Caroline Dubois is now growing mentally, emotionally. She's turning into a woman that owns her shit. You know, and this is why when you see fighters like that here, and you see Frazer's coming out of his shell now, you see them all coming through.
They're growing as individuals, aren't they, as people?
And there's not many fighters that that are being good pros, good amateurs, and become good pros. Frazer Clarke was in the Rio Olympic squad, the most successful Olympics the UK has ever had. So these guys have got pedigree. Caroline Dubois has got pedigree. I'm just trying to put everything into line and perspective how it is.
I mean, Olympic youth gold medalist, you know, she's done everything. She's boxed in the Europeans, she's boxed in the World Championships. Very unlucky, lost in the quarterfinals of the Olympics. So the pedigree was already there, the development stage was already there. We know there's not a gulf of women's boxers out there or whatever, and the elite is very small. And Caroline Dubois is, you know, she's a victim of her own success because she's going to have to move fast. You know, she's, like I say, she's going in for her 7th contest here. I can see this girl being world champion by the time she's had 10 fights.
Remember, she's only had 1 fight this year. So, you know, calling that fight, I say Caroline Dubois gets a stoppage win. She'll be a frustrated winner because she just wants to get in and have a tear up.
So how do you see this fight tomorrow night going against Lezcano? You think Caroline Dubois wins? And
boxes her, bashes her, closes her down. I think the referee will have to save Lezcano because she has that cojones to hold it out, but she's not. I think this referee will save her for her own good. Yeah,
Lezcano is tough. She's an Argentinian. You know, where they come from out there, women's boxing is quite big. You know, they're bred tough out there. But I'm not sure that's going to be enough for Lezcano. I think that Caroline Dubois is a girl that's on the rise. The development's incredible. The body shots she throws in, you can hear them slamming in with those body shots. I think she slowly, systematically breaks Lezcano down for a stoppage somewhere between 6 and 8.
Tell me about this fight that I think might be fight of the night, Aaron McKenna. 2 unbeaten fighters getting
against
in there.
Lima.
Lima. 2 unbeaten fighters getting in there. Lima, I think, has got an 8% knockout ratio on his
10-0 with 8 KOs.
So
Southpaw, slick, like moves around, right? So let me tell you about that Aaron McKenna who's boxing. He boxes out in the States. You know, he's over there. That's where he trains. He was an incredible amateur. You know, his amateur pedigree was unbelievable. Mick Hennessy, who's his manager, says, listen, we want him in there with Liam Smith. We want that fight now. This kid is that good. You know, he's sparring. The reports from him coming over in America, who he's sparring with, world champions, and he's holding his own. They said, we're ready to let him go. We want to let him go. And do you know what, Johnny? It shows me the confidence that Mick Hennessy, the team, and Team McKenna have got him in. It's put him in with Lima, right? High risk, low reward. Lima, who I saw for the first time yesterday, like I say, when I looked at the record, I went 10-0, 8 KOs. I went, really? I went, okay.
Is it a padded record?
Kid's not only 8-0 and 10 KOs. He comes out, he's moving around. But you know when someone's got them little movements, Southpaw style, and I went, wow. Like, they must have done their homework on him. But I've got to say, like, it's a dangerous fight, this one. I expect McKenna to win because I think he has got that pedigree. But Lima's dangerous, mate.
Matchmaking is everything. I saw these 2 guys get on the scales. And you can always tell if one fighter feels it or not. One fighter's bullshitting his way through. When Lima got on the scales, he was exactly like McKenna. He was angry, he was pumped. There were like a couple of fighting cockles thinking, I'm having this. I think there could be a banana skin here, but it's a great fight. I think this, if anything, steals the line. If you're going to ask me who wins that fight, you know, you'd want to lean towards McKenna because we're more familiar with him. But I ain't doing that because on paper, this is like, it's a good little mix, a great little mix.
Yeah, it's a great fight and it's a great card here tomorrow night in this historic York Hall. And you know, the atmosphere here is going to be bouncing and I think we're going to have some amazing fights.
See you next week.